Illy, what are you doing? Is your mic not working? Hey, Kyle, we have a mic problem out here. If you could.
Shh. They'll come get us.
What? Who are you talking about? Okay. What is going? We need to start the real deal.
Fine,
Eli.
just get us all killed.
What? I don't think that's gonna happen. So from Ball State University, the real deal starts now.
Welcome to another fallacious episode of The Real Deal, Ball State's premier entertainment news show. I'm Eli Brunsman.
And I'm Angela Oriema. This week, we don't have Josie Underhill, but we have Parker Carlson. And we don't have Noah Bullard, but we do have Tyler Landis.
And don't worry, we got rid of that Quiet Place monster that was stalking the studio.
Something was stalking us?
Yeah, we just played Brandon's Kanye West segment. Yeah, that loud, irritating, screeching drove them right off.
Well, I can relate to that. Whenever Brandon talks, it makes me want to run away too.
Oh, that's just like country music.
I agree, but Madison McGill found a country song that is somehow not as bad as Brandon's screeching. Take it away, Madison.
If I'm being honest, I'm not a big country fan, but I've been a fan of Cassadee Pope since her Hey Monday days, and can tolerate her pop rock turned country tunes because her voice is stellar. Now, I don't follow her music as religiously as Panic at the Disco, but similar to Brendan Urie, her voice is the saving grace that keeps me listening. Since she won The Voice in 2012, her country career has been a hit and miss and honestly rather slow, which is agonizing and kind of annoying because she has so much talent that goes unnoticed. I don't know if it would be similar in another genre or not, but she traded in her graphic tees for a pair of boots, and I just have to accept that. In terms of country artists to compare her to, I would put her up there with Carrie Underwood in terms of vocal range. She definitely blows Taylor Swift out of the water. Within this country career she's building, she's released one full-length album, an EP, and a few singles, which is nothing major to put her up there with the greats of the genre of choice. Her most recent single is what I want to focus on today, because it mostly means that an album is right around the corner. I mean, it's about time. Recently, she released a song titled Take You Home, and I know what you're thinking, but this isn't that type of song. No 2-mile rides back to someone's place. The song says so itself. Instead, the song is about the exact opposite, commitment and being in it for the long haul. It's about showing someone who you really are, which is conveyed fully by Pope's voice. But what I really love about this song is that it still has those subtle hints of Pope's roots. There's the subtle vibrato that's a Hey Monday classic coming straight from previous songs like Candles. Now, it's more of a controlled tone, clear. You can tell that she's grown. Her voice has grown with her, which is to be expected. It also gives her better vocals when performing live. There's also the rock-driven electric guitar, which is icing on the cake. However, while it has these redeeming qualities, I do wish the song would let loose and push the boundaries a bit more. Pope has no problem belting out the high notes. They sailed her all the way to that 2012 win, but this song lacks that Pope signature. It's not the standout single I wish it was, or the standout single I know Pope is capable of. Overall, I give the single a 3.5 stars out of 5. I also recommend checking it out. It's free on YouTube, and I promise it's not going to make your ears bleed like most country songs. So until next time, I'm Madison McGill.
Thanks, Madison.
Yep, and next up...
Nope, stop speaking.
Why?
Nope, no, speaky.
Okay, but what's going on?
Because it is my time to shine, Angelo, so just sit back and shut it.
Jeez, okay.
Thank you. Now I need my backup women to speak about other women in power. Oh, it's just Tyler.
Close enough, though. I mean, those hips don't lie.
Not exactly, but I guess we can see how he does.
Tyler. Go ahead, buddy. You got this.
Have you ever been watching a movie and thought to yourself, wow, the women in this film don't act like women in real life? Or, the roles for these ladies feel like they were written by old white men? Or even, the women in this film feel like they were only there to aid the lead male? Well, if that thought has crossed your mind, then you're not alone. Ever since the creation of cinema, men have dominated the industry both on screen and behind the scenes. While films such as Wonder Woman are certainly steps in the right direction, there's still a long way to make sure the representation of women in film is where it should be. It's hard to believe that in the early days of film that women were represented better than they are now. So what happened? Why have women taken a back seat in the magic that is movies? Perhaps it's just the fact that the industry behind the camera has remained predominantly wealthy old white males, which, with these men behind the cameras in roles such as writing, directing, producing, and so on, it isn't hard to see why women's representation is more scarce than money in a college kid's wallet. Now, while Hollywood may think providing women with roles in films means just remaking films that already had male casts and putting women in their place is the way to go, I'm looking at you, Ghostbusters remake, I can assure you that it's not going to solve your problem. The only way to get better representation of females on screen is to get women behind the camera. With women behind the camera, it is providing us with a more realistic women in film, and not just that, but it's also giving us better writing in general. With scripts becoming new and innovative, with not the typical set of people behind the scenes writing, the industry is getting a breath of fresh air. With Hollywood letting women behind the camera more and more now, we are sure to see more films with high, accurate representation of women. We have films like Lady Bird, Maleficent, and again, Wonder Woman, taking films with not just women in lead roles, but also holding director positions as well. Now, while we still have a ways to go, any step in this direction is a good step. Will the trend of women taking command behind the scenes continue? Well, if Hollywood knows what's good for them, then I sure hope so. That's going to do it for me. I've been Tyler Landis, and I always will be.
Thanks, Tyler. I accept your support and love for the cause.
And I accept your love and affection.
Who are you winking at?
No, just Tyler from the future when he goes back and watches this.
He's right over here.
I don't want to intimidate him.
Well, sorry to break your heart, but he's taken.
Yeah, Kyle got to him first.
Even though that's not true, we're going to take a break so I can console Angelo on his recent trauma. We'll be right back.
I want him so bad. Turn the camera.
Let's give a big Canadian welcome to the Vermont Highway Patrol.
Come on, guys. They've come up here to tell us how great it's going to be for all of us to become Americans.
Repeat after me. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Learn the words!
This is happening.
Est-ce que vous savez à quelle vitesse vous allez?
Do neither of you speak English?
I do. We would like to eat your papers.
Can you show me your party papers?
I've always wondered what it feels like to be just undeniably pretty. Are you okay? You hit your head pretty hard.
Wait, that's me. That's me. Oh my God, do you see this?
Yes?
I'm beautiful!
Mr. Goodman, everything you spent a lifetime trying to debunk the supernatural, it's all true. 3 cases I couldn't explain. You go and investigate if you dare. Things are not always as they seem.
Tell me about your incident.
You don't believe, do you?
Hello?
I don't want people looking at me and thinking that I'm mad. Because I know what I saw.
No.
Welcome back, everybody, and good news, Kyle has been eliminated.
Wait, what?
That's right, I locked him in his car with the alarm going off. He may or may not be getting devoured by monsters as we speak. Oh, and I pushed him into an alternate reality.
Why would you do that?
He's fine. There's chocolate and Easter egg. I mean, he's a pilgrim in an advanced society. He will thrive, and he'll never get between me and Tyler ever again.
Wait, what was that?
Oh, nothing. I think Nathan Richard has an A+ review coming up. Why don't we move on to him? Nathan?
Okay.
That's right. I'm once again talking about my Lord and Savior, Steven Spielberg. His latest movie, Ready Player One, recently hit theaters the other week, so I guess it would be appropriate for me to review the film for the show. Ready Player One takes place in 2045, and the outside world isn't doing well, to say the least. There's pollution everywhere, most people are broke and or homeless, and everyone is just letting the world die a slow, painful death. The one thing that's keeping people out of their misery is a virtual reality game called The Oasis. Created by a Bill Gates / Steve Jobs type figure, named James Halliday, played by Mark Rylance, the Oasis is a game where you can do anything or be anyone. The sky's the limit. When Halliday dies, he leaves the people of the Oasis with a scavenger hunt to find an Easter egg. The first person to find the Easter egg inherits Halliday's entire fortune and gains total control of the Oasis. In comes Wade Watts, played by Ty Sheridan, an 18-year-old kid living in a trailer park. Wade ends up being the first person to find the first clue to finding the Easter egg, thus setting off the wild ride the audiences are about to witness. Along the way, Wade encounters the female celebrity inside the Oasis, known as Artemis, played by Olivia Cooke. He also butts heads with the president of IOI Industries, Sorrento, played by Ben Mendelsohn, who wants to seize control of the Oasis for his own personal profit. Now, the book for Ready Player One, which was written by Ernest Cline, wasn't anything spectacular. At its best, it was just a fun read. It wasn't the most well-written book, but it didn't really need to be. It's also been a subject of controversy online for its overuse of pop culture references in almost every single paragraph. I can assure you that Spielberg, like he did with Jaws, was able to build upon the source material and make something much better. The ambition of Spielberg's direction is entirely felt. Several of the action scenes, including a racing scene in the first act, along with a scene that takes place entirely inside one of the most iconic horror films of all time, are among the best set pieces in a blockbuster movie I've seen in the past several years. The blending between the scenes that take place in the real world and the scenes that take place in the Oasis really work well, and the visual effects and the CGI in both are really great to look at. Though if I were to have any nitpicks on this, I felt the film's gray and dark color palette felt a tad dull for a world such as the Oasis. It could have used a lot more color. The references and Easter eggs are certainly present in the film, but they never overshadow the actual story, and they never feel too in-your-face and or blatant. In fact, they sometimes play into the actual story, and it feels organic. Alan Silvestri's score for the film is also on the highlights. It draws inspiration from some of his most iconic work, such as Back to the Future. The performances from Ty Sheridan and Olivia Cooke are really strong, though I felt Lena Waithe, Ben Mendelsohn, and Mark Rylance were the absolute standouts of the cast. I did feel that the movie lacked in character development, especially in the characters of Dado and Sho, who are just kind of there half the time and are given next to nothing to do. There's also, unfortunately, a lack of an emotional connection during several of the scenes, and while the film tries to make you feel for the characters during attempted emotional moments, it just kind of falls flat on its face. Problems aside, I did really have a great time watching Ready Player One. It's definitely one of Spielberg's better blockbusters in a real long time. It's nowhere close to being perfect, but it's definitely something I would recommend checking out in theaters. I'm giving Ready Player One a 4 out of 5 stars. Until next time, I'm Nathan Richard.
Thanks, Nathan.
Yeah, that sounds like maybe the most thrilling Steven Spielberg movie since War Horse.
Why is that your favorite?
No reason. On an unrelated note, do not check any of my fan art accounts.
On that note, horse heads, The Godfather, gangsters, gangster movies. Parker.
Hey! Hey! Take it away, Parker. Hey!
Every film buff needs to watch the classics, which paved the way forward in genre-defining style. Throughout countless catalogs claiming that this or that movie is the one that changed the genre, I think I found one that is actually true: White Heat. White Heat is a 1949 gangster noir movie that influenced all future gangster movies to come. White Heat was directed by Raoul Walsh, written by Ivan Goff and Ben Roberts, but most importantly, starred James Cagney, one of the most distinguished actors of all time. Before you can get into the movie, you need to know that this movie could have been made very differently. See, in 1949, gangster movies were becoming stale, run-of-the-mill movies that flooded theaters, kind of like superhero movies today. So all expectations were on them to make a movie that stood out. To do this, they had to convince James Cagney, who was tired of being typecast in gangster movies, but he reluctantly agreed to join. So with the cards stacked against them, how did they do? White Heat revolves around a psychotic, mother-infatuated gangster named Cody Jarrett, played by James Cagney. Most gangster films at the time featured a protagonist who, while he was a gangster, was also a little sympathetic. So Cagney knew that in order to change this up, he'd have to start there. In the movie, Cody Jarrett is an absolute psychopath who kills anyone who isn't on his side. This adds up to a total of 13 killings, which during 1949 was completely unheard of. All these murders wasn't what made Cody Jarrett so menacing in White Heat, though. It was his unpredictability. Throughout the film, Jarrett suffers from debilitating migraines that cause him to go into psychotic episodes. The highlight of this comes during a scene when Jarrett learns about the death of his mother. Cagney's acting is so spot on that not only do the extras freak out, but Cagney refused to ever watch the movie because of this scene. So while the acting is superb and worth watching this movie 10 times over, it's not the only thing that is special. There are tons of iconic moments sprinkled throughout the events of White Heat, from cops hidden in the gang to the most unforgettable lines ever spoken in cinema. At the very end, when Jarrett is on top of a gas tank screaming, "Made it, Ma! Top of the world!" If you ever want to find why tropes have become as famous as they have, or why a genre follows a popular trend, just look towards the classics like White Heat. See you later. I'm Parker Carlson.
Thanks, Parker, but I still don't get it.
That's because you're not advanced enough to understand word association.
Well, that's just rude. Almost as rude as that Italian accent from earlier.
Oh, you think you can do better because you're a little bit Italian, Angelo Oriema?
Hey, quesadilla, cheeseburger, guacamole.
Stop, just stop.
It's me, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Now I'm going to continue into the commercial, but we'll be right back.
That was my line!
It is a fact of life that bad movies are going to be made, but that doesn't mean we can't enjoy the bad movies just as much as the good movies. Just because a movie gets tons of bad reviews doesn't automatically make them terrible to watch. In fact, sometimes bad movies are more fun to watch than the good movies.
Cardi B, a woman you probably heard of by now. And if you haven't, then please climb from underneath that gigantic rock you've been living under. Cardi is a loudmouth female rapper from New York City who blew up from her hit songs like Bodak Yellow, Barty or Cardi, and her new song with Bruno Mars, Finesse.
Jersey Shore Family Vacation just premiered on Thursday. While I haven't seen it yet, I will be recording each episode and binge watching soon. I loved the original Jersey Shore, but I don't know why. This group of people are not similar to me at all, and most of the time I like shows that I can at least relate to a little bit, but maybe that's why the show was a hit. No one can relate to the cast.
Welcome back. We've still got 2 great segments ahead for you guys.
Yeah, by great we mean uplifting, tear-jerking, and downright masterpieces.
So without further ado, here's Tiara with her review.
Over the past 2 weekends, I have had the absolute pleasure of watching a new show on Netflix. I truly don't think I've ever been happier watching a show in my entire life. This show is called Queer Eye. It's a reboot of the 2003 Bravo show of the same name. And this show brought me so much joy with every episode that I watched. The first episode was released on Netflix a little while ago, and I finally got around to watching it and finishing it. I'm so glad I did. Before anyone asks, yes, I cried on every episode. Now, if you don't know the premise of the show, it's basically about 5 gay men known as the Fab Five who make over the lives of various men, from clothes, hair, and the way they look, and the way their homes look. These men get makeovers only one could only dream of. Let's get to the Fab Five, who I just adore. You have food and wine expert Anthony, who made me very hungry every time he was teaching the subject how to cook something. The fashion expert Tan, who needs to come make over my closet because he could make the biggest messes of men look like fashion icons in a few minutes. You have culture expert Karamo, who is just the best. I love him. And then you have Bobby, the design expert. And Bobby, if you're watching this, please help me design my dorm room for next semester. I'm begging you. Then we have Jonathan, the grooming expert, who some of you may or may not know from the online show Game of Thrones, in which he would do hair and recap Game of Thrones. It was amazing. The Fab Five are the sweetest men on the planet. They're so kind and open-minded to everyone they meet, and they teach their subjects and viewers valuable lessons about themselves and the world. One of my favorite episodes being in the first episode, in which the subject asks Bobby who the woman and the man is in his relationship with his partner. They pull the car over, and Bobby, along with Jonathan, explain to their subject Tom that way of thinking is basically an outdated stereotype, and even in heterosexual relationships, whether you have a more masculine or more feminine energy, there's still strength in that. They also teach their subjects that confidence is the best thing you can have, no matter who you are or what you look like. And it's so beautiful seeing some of these men come on the show with little to no confidence, but then they get their makeover and they're smiling and happy and they're so much more confident than they were before. Another episode has a man whose father recently passed away, and he uses his makeover as an opportunity to come out to his stepmother, since he didn't get to tell his father he was gay while he was alive. There was this beautiful moment between mother and son as they both cried together, and I most definitely cried along with them. Each episode of this show is so great. It's packed with emotion and humor, and I'm a sucker for a good before and after look. You get to know the Fab Five and their subjects through the course of all 8 episodes, and you care about them, and you're rooting for them to become the best version of themselves. And it's so wonderful to watch. I was smiling and crying tears of happiness on each episode, and I truly think that Queer Eye made my heart grow 3 times its size. It's so lovely. This is the happiest show I've ever seen in my entire life, and I wish there were more things pumping pure positivity into the world, just like this show is. If you aren't happy watching one episode of this show, then you're heartless, because so much care and love goes into each episode, and it shows. So if you're ever down and need a pick-me-up, Queer Eye is streaming on Netflix right now. Give it a chance. I'm Tiara Spells, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you, Tiara.
So aside from Tiara and Queer Eye, what else makes you cry?
Well, we got Inside Out, Marley and Me, the death of Han Solo, the day One Direction broke up, and the disassembling of a Mr. Potato Head.
You mean when he turns into Mr. Tortilla Head? That's gold.
No, it's not. He's not meant to be Mr. Tortilla Head, Eli. He's meant to be a potato. He is a potato. Accept who you are and be proud of it, Mr. Potato Head.
Just like that yodeling kid in Walmart?
No, he's scary and has at least 5 people in his basement. He is the killer, just like the main character in Brandon's show that he is reviewing today. Take it away, Brandon.
Bill Hader is just one of the best people, man. He might be one of the premier creators in TV comedy right now. He's an ingenious performer and writer, bringing nuance and wit to every project he touches. I love Documentary Now, his almost too clever to be funny parody show, but still hilarious. He runs with Fred Armisen for its wacky wit and spot-on parody of documentary films of the past. His latest project, Barry, is something completely different. It's a humanist dark comedy about finding yourself, deception, and the dark underbelly of the crime world. In the age of auteur television, this show stands out as a unique venture and one to definitely check out. The show follows Bill Hader's Barry, a depressed contract killer. He goes out on one last job to Los Angeles, getting put on a hit by some delightfully stupid Eastern Europeans. However, Barry finds a purpose and drive when he decides to join an acting class run by Henry Winkler's character, a delightful old cod who's just like every acting teacher I've ever had. What follows is a pastiche of murder, misunderstanding, and darkly comic relatability and satire. Bill Hader has never been better, period. He brings real depth to Barry. He's not just some sad sack. He's a depressed person trying to find an out from this life that has basically been chosen for him. Though he is the straight man of the show, he brings real pathos and hilarious reactions to the situations he's thrown into. Bonus points for somehow making Stefan from SNL a gun-carrying badass. Also wonderful in the show was Anthony Carrigan as NoHo Hank, a wonderfully bizarre mobster with a heart of gold and an eccentric streak to spare. I already mentioned Winkler, but he's really funny in this. He spouts off the same gibberish that any other acting teacher ever has said, with the exact same self-importance. The show's style is also quite unique. It's shot single cam, which allows for a lot of freedom in the cinematography. There are really great directors involved, including Hader himself. There's a shot in particular in episode 3 wherein Barry and his target are on different sides of the same wall that's just so brilliantly staged and hilariously executed. The show's violence is captured unflinchingly, almost never as a joke. It feels really cinematic. And they definitely did not skimp on the humor. There's a lot of really dark jokes that hit well, but there's also a sprinkling of really surreal, goofy humor to keep things fresh. What ultimately gets me about this show is the real heart that it places right on its sleeve. The show is about brutality and redemption, but it never loses that core heart. There's a great deal of empathy to the character of Barry. We want to see him succeed and learn to grow. The show never tells us to think otherwise. That's the problem with a lot of TV comedy nowadays. They don't give us characters to get behind. This show so far has given time to these characters to give them real depth and pathos. My favorite episode so far is that third episode I was talking about earlier, wherein Barry is torn between taking out a contract killer and spending more time with the woman he has feelings for. We see a real conflict in Barry, torn between a job he can't escape and a woman he can't shake. Her character is really excellent and realistic too, portraying an LA actress who's really struggling with all of the insecurities, jealousies, and quirks that come with it. These real, complex characters are offset by wonderful cartoons like NoHo Hank, who lend the show a real wit and humor. Being that the show is only 3 episodes in at this point, which is entirely foreign for me to fathom nowadays because I usually only watch things when the entire season is posted. I guess Netflix has spoiled me. I can't give Barry a numbered review score yet, but I will say that it is a darkly comic show worth checking out if you're itching for something new, exciting, and distinct. Check it out on HBO. I'm Brandon Krakowski with my last real segment.
Thanks, Brandon, for that wonderful and probably extra long review.
But not to worry, because we still have our shameless plug.
This week we have Shelby deal with really good bad movies. Half of Rob Squared, yeah, do the math, and Abby Perry is covering The Situation.
What situation?
The Situation. We'll be right back for our final word.
What?
Are you familiar with genetic editing? Changes will be incredibly unpredictable.
Is he the only one? Oh, you didn't know about the 30-foot wolf?
Truth.
What are your intentions with our sweet Olivia?
I needed to find someone with friends that I could trick into coming here. I could tell Olivia was an easy target. I brought you all up here because I'm okay with strangers dying if it means I get to live.
Sometimes the theater experience is unmatched, and I definitely felt that this weekend while watching John Krasinski's A Quiet Place. Beware, there will be a couple very light spoilers ahead, so press mute if that kind of thing bothers you. Okay, moving on. This movie is not your typical Jim from The Office content, and nothing compares to the silence that overtakes the audience during a movie that's, well, silent. In the first 10 minutes of the film, there isn't really much sound at all. You hear the soft pitter-patter of bare feet, the sound of breathing, but that's basically it. Made me hyper-aware of the crunching noises I was making while eating my candy. Everything seems eerie but relatively safe as the family walks together through the forest, over railroad tracks, but still making no noise at all. Until a loud and shocking scene sets the tone for the rest of the film. As the movie progresses, you get to see what this family has to go through as they attempt to recover from the loss of a child, as well as avoid being attacked by alien monsters. Even something as simple as silently playing a board game together can turn into a life-threatening activity. I wish the rest of the movie would have kept that eeriness though. Don't get me wrong, I was on edge the entire time, but I think that was one of the problems, because being on edge the entire time didn't really allow me to breathe and appreciate what this pure, uninterrupted silence would actually be like in real life. Kind of felt like the entire movie was a climax that didn't allow the viewers much time to build suspense. Something I loved about the movie, however, was the intense family bond. John Krasinski's character struggles to relate to his children in a society turned dangerous, and you see them begin to almost resent him at times. But you can tell that, however, it's his life wish to protect his children from any harm, regardless of the disagreements they have. Although John Krasinski's character was a typical protective fatherly figure, Emily Blunt's character was no damsel in distress. We see her go through the unimaginable as she struggles to protect her children from these terrifying creatures. She never gives up, even in situations where it seems impossible to recover. No, this is not a perfect movie, but I'm going to go ahead and skip a numerical rating and say it's worth checking out. So go see it, please.
Thank you, Eli. Actually, I totally agree with everything you said. I definitely go try and watch this film while it's in theaters. For as much as I bash the theater-going experience due to consistent crying of babies in R-rated films and the obnoxious pricing for a soft pretzel, please, AMC, I feel like this is a rare experience where if you don't see it in the theater, you're really missing out. You know, it provides an entire new level of ambiance and eeriness that I think was really unmatched. Now, stepping away from A Quiet Place, but still focusing on its protagonist and director John Krasinski, many people out there may have seen the swirling rumors regarding his stance that The Office should come back. I admit, I thought that these were mostly just clickbait headlines, but after watching an interview with him, I can confirm the validity of what he was saying as recently as like this time last week. And it's that if The Office comes back, he's totally in. But before you get your hopes up, he addresses the fact that the show's large ensemble cast means they probably won't be able to reunite everyone. But to that, I say, come on, John. You're telling me that the actress who plays Meredith is too busy to return to the office, or Creed, or Bob Vance of Vance Refrigeration, Angela's Cat Bandit? These guys are the most important characters, and they can't be that difficult to reel back in. Well, aside from the cat, it might be dead. But even so, you can bring back, I don't know, Dwight's cousin Zeke. And what about Frank, the warehouse worker portrayed by Brad William Henke? I mean, come on, you can't do an Office revival without Frank. You can't do it. You can't do it. I digress. The point I'm getting at is that Krasinski's interest in reviving the show actually really interests me. Oftentimes, I find it kind of cringy when actors or actresses are washed up and looking to return to their glory days, kind of like me with the show in 10 years. But in this situation, it's really endearing, I guess. Because John Krasinski is not washed up. If anything, he's on the climb, living it up, finding successes, yet still enjoying the idea of returning home to the show that made him a household name in the first place. That being said, though, I've about reached my limit with these revivals. You know, Full House, Will and Grace, Roseanne, and of course, the long and forgotten American Idol, So Glad You're Back. These are all examples of returning and overstaying their welcome. You know, I'm one to get scared about going back and touching great, completed stories, fearing that you may end up tainting its legacy. That being said, The Office, you know, the last 4 seasons of The Office were garbage anyway, so maybe this is an exception, I don't know. But you know what? I think that a way to go back and remember The Office without overdoing it would be an occasional special. You know, rather than ordering another 20, 25 episode season, I see no harm in bringing back, you know, an hour-long episode that all of the cast and crew can throw their energy into. Krasinski has brought up how he would like this to be an option too, admiring how UK shows often have a Christmas special for the audience to pop back into various characters' lives. And frankly, I'm all for that. I don't know about you or anyone else. Nostalgia is such a powerful thing though, and using it the right way can result in a product that's really special. But overusing it can drain not only the revived content, but also bring about a damaged perspective on the original content. Too much of a good thing can have massively negative results. Just ask my great-grandfather, who died after downing an entire sleeve of Oreos. I miss you, Papa. I miss you so much.
Wait, shh. I think those monsters might be back.
Wait, what? What did we do now?
Oh, never mind. It's just Kyle.
Oh, wait, Kyle's back. I need to take care of this.
Are you okay?
No, nothing. Yeah, if you want to check out more of The Real Deal, check out our website, Facebook, and Twitter pages for news and updates and all things entertainment. I'm going to go murder Kyle. I'm Angelo Oriema.
And I'm Eli Brunsman. We'll see you next time.
See ya.